See, I've been a Mason 56 years, and I took my lodge. My lodge is Henry Barnes Lodge, number 607 in Dayton, Kentucky, and that's where I took my degrees. One thing my mother always told me was her father was a Mason. The way she said it, knew it was important to her that she had a great respect for Masonry because she always says, "Your grandfather was a Mason." So I sort of knew that the Masons had something good to offer. And we're looking for something to belong to when I was young and about 24, 25 years old, and did petition the lodge because a friend of mine had previously went in just about 9 months ahead of me, and he sort of encouraged me, but he made sure I knew he wasn't asking, but he encouraged me sort of to join, and I did. He said they had a pool table, and I'd like to play pool, but they did sell a pool table before I got through my degrees. What was Henry Barnes Lodge like? Well, when I went in, it was like one thing that impressed me quite a bit is here I am, a young kid, about 25 years old, and everybody treated me like I was equal. They talked to me like I was older. The older fellows talked to me like I was older, not 25, not like a kid, what I was used to. People sort of, oh, he's just a kid, 25, not too smart. And but they treated me with respect, and that's the first thing I learned in the Masonic Order, I think, was that Masons have respect for other Masons, and I thought that was very important, very important. And the degree work, like I said, the ritual, the proficiency, I had to learn that word for word. I couldn't understand why, because this word works just as good. But then I soon found out that it was very important to keep the ritual just exactly the same. And matter of fact, our proficiency was such that you got through your proficiency, you could confer the degree other than the little charge before the obligation, and maybe a recapitulation and an apprentice degree. But other than that, you could confer the whole degree, and somebody else would give the lecture. So it was expected of the guy conferring the degree to do the whole thing, and pretty much. And where today they more break it up. Oh, you do this, and you do the working tools, and you do. But back then, you learned the whole thing. So I taught a class right after I came in, and so I had a few words because it's all mouth to ear, and I had a few words, and the master would come in and sit down with your class, make sure you letter perfect. And so he'd come in after a while, you get going and get through it pretty much, and you get close to coming up, he would sit down and he'd correct any word that you might have had. So that's how strict it was, and it was very strict. But when you got through that, you could pretty well confer the degree, and that, matter of fact, I did confer the fellowcraft degree because before I was an officer, and well, they had a lot of things going on. They had a bowling team and they had a baseball team, softball, and I was on a bowling team, but I didn't play softball. But they played that back then, and everything was a lot of activity. There was a lot of activity. When they put on a program, it was always a full program. It wasn't. You had Christmas observance that have a person do pretty much a show, and they have other people, members of the lodge, and some of them play guitar and sing, and families sing and all that. So it was a lot of entertainment, and my kids were little enough, they'd come for that, and they'd enjoy it very much. So that's the way it pretty much was, and they did things. And a lot of lodges today just, oh, we'll have a picnic. What are you going to do? Eat food and go home. So it was more a production on everything. You had a picnic, you had games, you had for the young ones, you had that. Maybe you had a place where you could fish and all that. And there was a lot of thought put into things, and because they went through committees. A committee, you say, so and so, you're on a committee, and they would work it out. They bring it up to the lodge what they had thought, and if anybody has any questions or suggestions, they would incorporate and come back, and they would report long before the event. It wasn't something that was set up a week before or a month before. It was thought out, and the programs were always pretty good, I would think, especially for families. Well, be honest, as an octogenarian, I don't do a whole lot, but we like, my wife and I like to eat out, and we go to certain functions where Masonic functions, and we go to Aronoff Center for the plays and things like that, and we do just things together. Whatever she likes to do, we sort of do, and. But when I was younger, I put a lot of time in my yard. I loved working in the yard, getting my hands dirty. I always felt sort of closer to God, playing in the dirt and planting flowers and making things beautiful in nature. So I really liked doing that. And see, what else did we do? Well, I don't know. We did little things, bowling and things together in couples and that. But today it's more family. When we have family projects, it's I spend a lot of time other than the few things I mentioned earlier. So we spend time with family. Very fortunate. My wife supported me 100%, even though we were still married young, and I got active in the York Rite pretty much, and then finally we joined the Eastern Star, and she sort of got a better understanding of what I was doing when through the Eastern Star. So I think that was a good thing. But I was awfully active, and sometimes I'd miss things I should have been at, and I sort of wish I hadn't now that I look back on it. But she was always very supportive and understanding of what I was doing, and even though I was out five nights a week at lodges. But anyway, so I do appreciate what all she did for me. And she, whenever I had a planned an event or something, and she would donate her time and donate food or whatever, cookies and cupcakes and things like that, and she still does. And she's always, like I said, always been right behind me. I was an entered apprentice, and they told me I had to go to classes. They had told me before, so I expected it, but I didn't realize it was so much memorization, and I had a really rough time. I was really hard to learn, and so I really, and my instructor was a little bit of a rough character, and he had instructed a lot of people, and he told me, he's going to beat knots on my head if I don't learn. So that's funny now, but when you're new in there, when you're brand new, and somebody tells you to beat knots on your head, you sort of get fed up and sort of maybe, I don't want to do this anymore. But then I did learn it and got through it, and so that was my bad experience. But after the night I got my Master Masons, as was the custom back in that day, that your wife and your mother and father and sister or something would give you a present when you sort of like, they used like graduated to Master Mason. And one of the presents I got from my parents and my sister was a Masonic Bible. And so I was so moved when I got the Master Mason's degree. I was very lucky. Our lodge was very proficient in their work and very dramatic in their portrayals, and something that they were noted for around the tri-state area. And make a long story short, I started reading that Bible, and all the Masonic information in that. It was the Holman Bible. I still have the Bible, and it read all that in there, and pictures and all the verses, and looked them up, and did that the same night I got raised. And I was just so moved by it all. It was very, very. I was in awe. It's just very much so. And the work was just a spectacular, perfect work, and as expected in the lodge. And so anyway, that influenced me quite a bit. That the Bible that I read led me into reading more and more on the Masonic order, and I got to read books. As a matter of fact, when we were in apprentice, they had just built a new library in the lodge. And the building, it was finishing the wood, and part of our job as entered apprentice was to finish that, sand it down a little bit, and so they put books. And I said, well, nobody bought books, so I said, well, they had some books, but I said I'll buy the books and be the librarian. So I was the librarian before I was the librarian of the Scottish Rite. So. Thinking about it, I wouldn't change anything about Freemasonry. I would try to, if I had the power, to change the attitude and things like that, where people are more, I don't know, conscientious of their brethren and things like that. And it seems like that sort of fell by the wayside. Besides, everything is sort of less than what it was. Ritual work is pretty good anyway, but most places. But the precision work is not there, and that I remember. And the planning, like I mentioned before, is not there. And it's just like, I make a motion, let's do it. Okay, you're on the committee. Well, when are we going to do it? Next Thursday. Okay, and then that's it. And that's all there is to it. I'm exaggerating, of course, but it's the way it appears to me as an old-timer. But to me, it's pretty obvious that The Builders, written by Reverend Joseph Fort Newton, is probably one of the most important books of all time. Even though it was written 100 years ago, over that, it still is relative today. If for every Mason, if anyone who reads it, I think the book should be compulsory to anyone who's being raised. I have a lot of Masonic authors that I like, particularly back from the 1940s through the 1950s and 55. It was the books I grew up on reading and in my Masonic career, and they tell the true story of Masonry, and where previous to that there was a lot of guesswork, and this sort of explains everything through deep research, and I found that pretty interesting to me. So those early books I really like, and the newer books I like too, and a lot of them, but those books were the ones that set the stage for Masonic research. I think that Freemasonry's purpose is education. From the very beginning, the old-time Masons who labored back in the 13th, 14th century were taught 7 liberal arts and sciences to which those who couldn't even read, they were taught that, and that was education so they could build things using geometry. And then after the Grand Lodge was formed, I think it became more into same thing, educating people in science, and God could be are compatible, and more and more, I think, then it taught more, and as the ritual developed, that the person could come closer to God and have a little better understanding of God. So I think that was the purpose of Masonry. Well, like I said, when I was married early in my life and started having children, I thought I needed to be a better person, a better man, and I think I've learned and by joining Freemasonry, I think I've learned a lot to improve myself and be better understanding of my fellow man. That it's hard to sit back and understand certain people have problems, but it's like a salesman that goes to a place and to sell something, and the purchasing agent gets all irritated and everything, but the salesman does not know what that man is going through, whether it's home or business or whatever, but he may just have a problem, and that's why he's a little bit angry or something. So Freemasonry teaches you to be patient and learn about people and try to be understanding of people and to help people in any way you possibly can. I would be a little bit encouraging, but I wouldn't say too much. I would say, well, it's something you won't regret, like a cliche, but I really wouldn't encourage a man. A man has to make up his own mind, and so I would encourage him slightly, but I wouldn't badger him or anything. Even after he said, I'm really interested, I still would not badger him about it or anything. I would just let it stay cool, and let him make up his own mind. My advice to a newly made Mason was just tell him that you have just learned everything you're going to learn in Freemasonry from the lodge. And if you want to learn anything about Freemasonry, get some books and read them. And if you need any books or help you, I will help you learn about whatever subject you want in Freemasonry. There's 1,000 subjects in Freemasonry that you can talk about or learn about. And whatever you are interested in, we have a book on it. When did the library get started? Our library, way back, there was a fellow named Dick Bergen, who I knew and loved dearly, but he was a one-man librarian, and he'd get these books and try to sort them and all that all by himself, and I felt sorry for him, and he worked hard on it, and then he passed away. So the library sat for years, and then we had an opportunity to get some books from Louisville, who were condensing their library down, and we went up and got I don't know how many boxes of books from them, and I said, well, I'll be the librarian if you let me pick my committee, and I picked my committee, and we started sorting those books and still sorting them, but we got about 3,000 books here on the Masonic Order, so you can see that Masonic Order is hardly a secret. But so we got them on every subject there is, from philosophy to practicality to how to operate a lodge, women Masons, you name a subject, we've got it. Anti-Masonry, we got books like all over the place. And anyway, we're very, very, we try to be balanced and try to have books on every subject. So, and that's what we do. And we have them here. And like I said, we got 3,000 books, and we're hoping to expand this library out into the vestibule out there and set up more cabinets and that kind of thing to make it easy, accessible to certain books. What would I say about Freemasonry to the future, brethren? We have tried to preserve through these books at the library Masonry as it is today and yesterday for you to read in the future. We would hope so you'd have a better understanding of what we went through. And in a way, this same video is doing the same thing, preserving history for the future. And we hope that people will take care of it and read and learn about what went on back in the old days. I think Freemasonry will continue, but in what form I really don't know, because the numbers will continue to probably drop, and there will be the few that have a deep interest in Masonry that will continue it. So I can't really tell you. I think the lack of education is probably the number one fault with Masonry today.